Welcome to the Crafty Stitches Podcast. This is a video podcast about all of my crafting adventures, and today's episode includes knitting, crochet and sewing plans. So let's get started. Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as the Boervrou, and I am coming to you from South Africa. Today that I'm recording this is the 30th of May 2024, and this is episode 64. Today's episode includes some knitting and crochet, and I will also be sharing some sewing plans. I have 2 finished objects in this episode and 4 works in progress, so I have been quite a busy little bee. Anyway, so I hope you have something nice to drink while we chat about all of the projects that I'm currently working on, and you are welcome to let me know down below what you are working on at the moment. I just brought a little bit of coffee in this beautiful mug. I hope that's visible. It says love grows here with some beautiful cacti plants and things. So I really love this mug. Anyway, I've got some coffee. The wind is blowing outside. I'm not sure if it's bringing us a little bit of cold or what. I have checked the weather forecast and it's only talking about much colder weather on Monday, and today is Thursday, so I'm not sure. We shall see if the weather forecast was correct or not. Anyway, so let's get into this episode, and let me just start off with what I am wearing. This is the Fairy Lily sweater that I have just designed and released the pattern of. The pattern for the moment is only available in a yarn kit, which you can purchase from my website. I will link all of the details down below this video. If you're interested, you can check that out. The pattern will be a standalone pattern in November, and I will release it then on its own. But this is my Fairy Lily sweater. I've worn it. This is the 3rd time this week that I'm actually wearing it, so I think I will have to think about washing it after today. But I am really loving this sweater. It is beautiful. I really love it. It's made with Piana Yarn's sock yarn, which is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon blend, and this colorway is the colorway Victoria. I think I knit the 3rd size, if I remember correctly, and there is 5 sizes in the pattern. But anyway, that is what I'm wearing. So let's get into it and let me share with you my finished projects for this episode. Alright, my first finished project for this episode is the 1898 hat that I've been knitting. It's the 2nd one that I made, and this is the yarn that I used, which is a beautiful 80% merino and 20% baby alpaca blend. This was a gift. The yarn was a gift, and this is not the colorway information because this is a navy. I think these labels was from the dark gray that I did previously. But in the previous episode, I had just started I almost said button band. The ear flap band brim portion. So I started here and I knit until I reached this marker from Annegret from Pincushion Crafts. So that is where I was, and then I added this marker, and I then finished the band all the way to the back again, and I grafted it, and then I picked up stitches for the crown of the hat, and finished that. I am really enjoying this pattern, and I'm seriously contemplating on knitting another navy one, because this hat took 64 grams of yarn, which is 3 grams less than the grey one that I made. So I think my gauge must have changed a little bit, but it's not that much. It still fits. I did have my husband put it on after I washed and blocked it to make sure that it fits, and it fits perfectly. The only change that I made to the pattern is I added between the ear flap portions on the forehead part of the band, I added 4 repeats, which is I think 8 rows in total, if I remember correctly. So if I hold it fold it flat, you will see the ear flaps is not exactly on the same, it's not exactly in the folded part. The front, the forehead part is a little bit longer. You can see there, because I did fit the first one on my husband's head, and I saw that I needed a little bit more before starting the second ear flap. So that's what I'm doing with this. I've only knit this as per pattern, so only this portion is double and this is single. I do have enough yarn to knit another navy one, and then I will still have enough yarn to maybe do this crown portion double. I have talked about it in a previous episode on that I might do the crown part double by picking up stitches on the inside and knitting another crown like this, just that way around, and then it's double. So just to have more heat, but it's not that cold yet for our winter, so we will see. As my husband said, he still does have hair, so we will see if he needs an extra layer or not. But there is enough yarn maybe to do 2 extra layers, like for both navy hats. But I'm really thinking of making another navy hat, and there's enough dark gray to also give the dark gray a second layer if needed, because he's already wearing the hat quite a bit in the mornings and in the afternoons, and I think if it was double layered at present it would be too hot. So I'm not sure. Maybe we will see if he needs extra warmth, do a double layer in one of the hats. I don't know. At least now I have a second hat so that I don't have anxiety when washing the one hat and then it needs to get dry, because this does take a little bit of time to dry. So that is the hat. Done, finished. Very happy with that. Let me take out this marker. I used a 4.5mm knitting needles for this project as suggested in the pattern, and I was also thinking that if the hat maybe is a little bit too cold in middle of winter, I can always use a little bit thicker yarn, something like, I would say something like the African Expressions merino yarn. I'm wondering what it's called now. I will find a picture and pop it up here, because it's got less meterage than this on 50 grams, and I'm thinking it's a little bit thicker of a yarn. So I was thinking if I need to get this part to be a little bit more warm, then I can maybe just use a little bit of a thicker yarn and it'll make a little bit of a thicker fabric. I'm not sure. We will see that in the future. I'm just thinking out loud in other ideas that I have for this hat. So as you can hear, I love the pattern. I'm really enjoying it. I really think I might cast on another one while I'm still in the groove of loving the hat. So we will see. And then I still have 3 full balls of the navy, and the bit that I did cake up, this is all I had left of that bit. So yeah, that worked out very well. Anyway, that's the hat. First project done. I think I did say everything that I needed to. Yes. Alright, second finished project for the episode is a design that I'm currently working on, and this is the Fairy Lily Cowl that I'm currently designing. This will be size 1. There will be 2 sizes in the pattern, and in the previous episode I started my cast on here, and it's knit flat and then seamed at the back. So started there. I added this marker from Annegret from Pincushion Crafts to track the progress. So basically in the previous episode I only had this part done, the first quarter section, and then I finished knitting the whole thing and I seamed it together yesterday. I finished the project, I washed and blocked it, weaved in the ends first, washed and blocked it, trimmed the ends, and seamed it together at the back. I really need to improve my seaming techniques, but I think it's fine. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. I'm gonna take out the marker quickly as well, and let me put it on so that you can see. Alright, so that is what it's looking like. And I absolutely love it. I love the way it falls down and how it lays a little bit wider here where you need all of the warmth in winter time. And as you can see, I have this beautiful lace patterning on it as well. So you can see the lace here on my top, on the sweater, and I've used the same type of lace, but just this time in garter stitch. And it looks quite a bit different than the first version that I made, with the lace that I've improved a little bit, but I really love this cowl. So it's not a tube basically. It has some shaping to it. So it has a smaller circumference at the top than down. It's not going like a normal. Most of these cowls that I've seen over the past few weeks is more like a tube, but this one is shaped. I love the way the stripes are laying sideways. I really love it. So yes, that is size 1, and this project is going exactly with another sweater that I made in this color. So I'm very excited to get to wear it this winter. But anyway, right. Let me stop talking about the cowl. Let me show you the yarn. So, or talk about the yarn rather. So this project is made also with sock yarn, a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon blend. It is a 3-ply, yes, 3-ply, and what did I want to say? 3-ply fingering weight, that about covers it. So this pretty color here is my main, what I consider my main color, and this is my contrast color. So this main color, color A, is part of a sock set from Naughty Habit. And the colorway was, it is a combo CEE. And it's got 366 meters on 100 grams. And then my contrast color, the color B, is the same base that I dyed myself with some acid dyes, with an acid dye color called Lilac, I think, if I remember correctly. And that worked out perfectly. The contrast color in the combo from Naughty Habit, I think is only a 25 gram mini. Yes, and that would have been too little to do the color B, the lace strips. So I took another color that I had some in my stash. The cowl is knit on 4mm needles, and I think if I remember correctly, this whole cowl weighs a little bit less than 90 grams for size 1. Size 2 will be a little bit bigger, but I will share that with you as we go on the project. So I'm very happy about this one. I cannot wait to wear it. I still need to take some pictures of it. And yes, I need to take pictures of it before I start wearing it. Alright, I think that is everything that I needed to say about the cowl. I really love it. Okay, let's go over to works in progress, and then I'll show you my 4 projects. Alright, so the only project that you have seen before is the legacy cowl that I'm making, which is a pattern from Yaline, from Made by Yaline. She has the Lekker podcast here on YouTube, and I will also link that down below. And I have made a little bit of progress on this. I do have to say that my cowl is a little bit bigger because I didn't swatch and I didn't use the recommended yarn. I started this project mostly for the purpose of learning mosaic crochet. And I love it. So this is the project. These 2 colors are beautiful together. So in the previous episode, I was at this point where this little progress keeper is, which is a progress keeper from Made by Yaline of the Lekker podcast. Right, and as you can see, I've made quite a little bit of progress on the project. And I really love it. It's quite easy when you understand what you're supposed to be doing. And it makes these beautiful, beautiful shapes. Very, very nice. So it's a bit big, but it's fine. I don't mind. I just made this out of acrylic yarns that I had in my stash. So I suspect that this main color is L Poolskin or Poolskin from L, Saprotex International, which would be a double knit. And then this contrast that I'm using is also mostly acrylic. It is 93% acrylic and 7% Lurex. It is also from L, and it's the Fairy's Delight. I just don't know what this colorway name is because I don't know where this specific label is. But I kept its friend here to show you the label. Right, and then I'm using the recommended hook size, which is a 3.75mm hook. And that is basically it for this project. I'm not sure how much further I need to go. I think it might be quite a bit still. Maybe this much, I think. If I look at the chart, we will see. But this is the progress. Still working away on this one. Very, very nice project. And I'm really glad that I jumped in and started to learn mosaic crochet. It's not as hard as we think, as is most things. But we will not go off in a tangent on that. Alright, so that is the first project that I wanted to show you. And then my second project is a new whip, but an old project. Yeah, I think that describes it quite nicely. So, this is a pair of socks. These were originally knit for my husband, but it was still in the beginning, I would say, or more or less in the beginning times of my sock knitting journey. And I actually knit these socks feet too short. They're a little bit too long for my feet, but they are a little bit too short for his feet as well. So I think it's easier to wear socks that's a little bit too long than socks that are a little bit too short. So anyway, what happened is I put these socks away because I saw that it's not very nice for him to wear. And the other day, my long socks that I usually wear in my rubber boots or my gum boots, which is store-bought socks, has got such bad holes in them. They are not fixable. And I thought I need longer socks. So what I did is I took these socks out of the drawer and I decided I'll just make them longer. So I cut off the cuffs, which was a little bit nerve-wracking in the beginning. And then I saw, well, they don't just unravel because they have been worn a few times and washed a few times. So they keep their shape. They don't just unravel for nothing. But now, this was in the time when I still knit most socks, no, all the socks cuff down. So it was actually started at this point. So I just put in my needle in the sock and I cut a strand and I just unraveled it, basically one row, and then I started knitting in the different direction. So I did make a mistake because one is finished. This is the original sock where I cut the cuff off there, and then I knit up in a different direction and I made a nice long cuff. But this does not really fit too nicely because it's too narrow. I didn't think about increasing. I don't know where my brain was, but anyway. So I decided to just let this one be and try a new technique on the second one, and then I can come back and fix this one. So that's what I did. I took the second sock and I cut the cuff off as well. And then I added I actually added my needle, cut the cuff off, and then I started knitting in the different direction. But I did do a increase round in this one. So these were, I think, 68 stitch socks, and I increased to 80 stitches. And then I knit 10, 20, 30, 40 rounds in this color, which is a leftover, this one. I do have quite a bit of socks in this color, and I'm actually wearing a pair currently. They don't look that beautiful because I've been wearing them a lot, but I'm actually wearing it. The actual socks. Anyways, and then I took another leftover from a different colorway, just this one, and I started the cuff again. I did the same on this one. So this and this is the same yarn, and this is the same yarn. But anyway, so I'm currently still knitting on the cuff. I think I might make this a 30 round cuff as well, I'm not sure how many rounds I did so far on the cuff. Let's count quickly. 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 rounds. So I'll do one more and then I'll fit this and see if it's long enough, and maybe do, but I think I might do 30 rounds. I'm not exactly sure. I really like the look of this nice long cuff. It's pretty. So anyway, so if this one fits properly, I will unravel that one and fix it as well. So the sock originally had 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-ish rows. It looks like 70. And then I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 40. So that's 110 rounds and then a cuff of 30. So that gives me 140 rounds. So that's a nice long sock. We will see how this works. Anyway, all of this yarn in this sock is the same brand, the same make, just different colorways. I was thinking on where will I find a yarn label to show you, and then I remembered I do have a project journal and there should be a label in there, so I brought that with. Let me quickly find one. So this is what the yarn looked like, the label. And it's also a 75% wool, 25% polyamide blend. And these had 400 meters on 100 grams of yarn. So yes, that is what the label looked like. All right, so that is my old project that I'm transforming into a new pair of socks for myself, for my boots. And yes, I think it'll work. I just needed to do the increase because my calves is bigger than the rest of my leg. Anyway, never mind. That is my socks. So let's move on to my third work in progress, which is shockingly also socks. Anyways, I was working on these socks and I thought, isn't it summer sock camp? I'm sure I heard or seen something about summer sock camp. So summer sock camp is a sock make along hosted by Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady podcast on YouTube. And all it is a make along of socks all summer long for the northern hemisphere. But for me it's winter sock camp, but never mind. Sock camp is sock camp, and I thought, let me participate. And I started a new pair of socks. Now I have to say that I started this on Sunday. That's just passed. In the afternoon I started the toe, and these socks are knitting itself. It goes so quick because I'm making stripes. Quite a lot of fun. So I'm doing this one toe up with 2.25mm needles, TPNs, my Knit Pro Smart Sticks TPNs, and this is what it's looking like so far. And I'm loving it. Let me add this progress keeper to it. I just finished the heel. I'm using the same method for the stripy bird hide socks, the toe up with the improved heel gusset technique, which was improved from my other patterns. But anyway, so I'm doing toe up with a slip stitch heel flap and gusset, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. My stripes, I think, is 14 rounds for this sock, and I'm amazed at how lovely it is to knit such thick stripes. Really enjoying this. So this may become a pattern in the future. I'm really enjoying this, and I did start writing it up. I'm very excited to start the leg because I'm planning something special, and you will see that in the next episode. So that's all I'm gonna say about these, about the design or what it's gonna look like. You will just have to wait and see. But anyway, so this is also made with Knotty Habit sock yarns, and I think this one is a Cowgirl Blues mini that I had. I cannot remember the colorway name, but this is a mini from Knotty Habit. This was a mini. I think this was a mini in a sock set. This was another mini, and then this was a full hank of yarn that I bought. Yeah, the brown. This was actually the contrast color in my first ever hand dyed sock set that I bought from Knotty Habit. So that is the sock. I'm very excited about this one. Very excited to show you what the rest of it will look like, because the stripes is not going to be the only fun detail of this pair of socks. Okay. So that is the socks. Right. My fourth project. My fourth and final work in progress is the size 2 of the Fairy Lily Cowl that I just finished. I started the second size, and that will be then the second sample. I just started it last night, so there's not much to show yet. But when I went to the local yarn shop day at Little Yarn Craft, Piana Yarns was there, and I actually bought this hank of yarn from her on the day. It was the only hank of yarn that I found that really matched my pink of my Fairy Lily sweater, and afterwards I thought this was the best colorway that I could have bought, like ever, because this green matches my ranunculus that I made from the Al Merino wool last year, I think, perfectly. So this cowl is going to fit with that perfectly as well. And then obviously with my Fairy Lily sweater. So I just started it last night. I just have a little bit to show. I added this little marker on here. Let me just bring it up, just to mark my right side. But now it can mark the progress until my next episode. This is also a marker from Annegret from Pincushion Crafts. Alright, and as I said, this is the second size, so it's a little bit bigger than that one. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to work up, because I'm going to use this for my main color, and the leftover from my Fairy Lily sweater is going to be the contrast color. And I think that is going to go perfectly together. Very excited about this one. And I must say, I'm also thinking that the cowls are knitting themselves. They go so quick. I really enjoyed knitting the first one. If you've been here for a little bit, you would know I actually already knit 2 cowls, because I knit the first one, and after I washed and blocked it, I decided I want to change some things. So I changed some things and I actually knit the second one. So this is in actual fact my third one, but it's the second one that I'm keeping, and the second size in the pattern. So I'm writing up the pattern as I go, and I'm knitting the second size, and I'm very excited about it. Oh, I didn't show you a yarn label. Let me do that. So this is the yarn label from the main color. So it is the Piano Yarn Sock Yarn. It's a 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. It's got 100 grams. It's got 366 meters on 100 grams. And it does not have a colorway name. So I'm not sure what it's called, but it doesn't matter. I love it and it's beautiful. Alright, so that is all of my knitting and crochet projects. Let's move over to find out what's been happening, where I would like to share some sewing plans with you. Alright, so I've done quite a bit of knitting. I've been writing up the pattern for the Fairy Lily Cowl. That'll be coming soon. The yarn kits for the Fairy Lily sweater is currently still available in my online shop. I will put a link down below this video to the shop. We have 14 different colors that you can choose from, and I'll also put a picture up here on the screen of the colorway choices. As I said, this one is made in Victoria, and you are more than welcome to check that out if you are interested in knitting your own Fairy Lily sweater. And then I've been thinking about this sewing project for quite a while. It must be like 3 weeks, and I just cannot get myself together to sit down and start. And there's a reason for it. I bought this fabric about, I don't know, 12 years ago maybe, and I think these pants have been cut out for at least 7 years, and I haven't finished it. I haven't started it, to be honest. I did some ironing of the interfacing, and I did some overlock stitching on panels, but I haven't sewn any little bit of it together. So when I bought my yarn for the ranunculus, the Al Merino wool, I chose a specific color because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, and because I knew that that color would go beautifully with this fabric. And then when I bought my yarn for my Fairy Lily sweater, I didn't even think about this fabric, but it goes together also perfectly. Which means it'll go perfectly with my Fairy Lily Cowl that I'm currently making. So this is a sample of the fabric. And it's nice and thick. And I think it's going to make amazing pants. So this is what I have. A stack of pieces. As you can see here, I've already ironed on the interfacing for the band. I'm terrible at sewing things, names, and I have no idea. But anyways, this is the top portion. I think you can add belt loops to this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but maybe I will. And then I was contemplating this morning, maybe I should add pockets to it, but all the pieces are already cut out, like and because it has been cut out for the past 6 or 7 years, I have no idea what size this is. So I even have the zip. So the only thing I know is it's definitely this pattern. I don't know what happened here, but anyway. So it's definitely this pattern. I think I have no idea what size I cut out, so I will have to take the pattern pieces and put it on top of those and see what size I started with. And then I was thinking my goal before the next episode of the podcast, I want the zip added to the 2 front panels, because I'm sure it's a waistband. It's a waistband. That's what it's called. Anyway, sorry for the interruption of my own thoughts. So I think if I remember correctly, the first thing that you do is add the zip to the 2 front panels. And I think if I added the zip, then I can see how I'm going to get this pants to fit me. Anyway, so that is the whole thing. I must first figure out what size, and then I must quickly decide if I want to add pockets. The only thing that I'm a little bit afraid of adding pockets is that I do have quite wide hips and the fabric is not that flowy. It's quite heavyweight fabric, and this pattern says it's designed for medium weight woven fabrics like wool types, twill, chino, denim, gabardine, no idea what that is, linen and corduroy. So I hope it's not too thick, but I'm thinking if it's quite a little bit of a thick fabric, maybe the pockets will not be a good idea because that might add more bulk. But I have found that having pockets just for the odd keys when I'm going to the chicken coop or whatever, that I really kind of like to have pockets. But anyway, so that is all of the sewing things that I wanted to talk about. Right, so wish me luck, please. I really need it because I really need to get some pants made because it's getting colder, because it is winter. So that is all of the projects that I have to share, all of the finished projects, the works in progress, the new plans, and I am looking forward to working on these projects for the next 2 weeks until I see you in the next episode. Please comment down below and tell me what you are currently working on. Have you joined Summer Sock Camp from Kay? That's always interesting. I love meeting fellow sock knitters because sock knitting is so much fun. I love it. I know there's people that can't stand knitting socks, but I love it. So if you're a sock lover, tell me in the comments down below. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you are new, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you will consider sticking around. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see any more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye!